Evening, guys. Wanted to share some really interesting fault finding I did on one of my little project saws, which I've got advertised, non-working, and again had a bit of spare time, and so it's strange. I wonder how many people are like me in this regard. You have so many projects, and so this saw came in again probably a couple of years ago, and at the time I gave her a cursory look over and checked to see if she had, good compression, pulling over smoothly, no apparent breaks really around the saw, and just a gorgeous example of the Oleo Mac top handle 240. Little knuckle guard, no chain brake, points condenser, had a spark, and then don't really remember what happened at the time. Obviously I'd have done some cursory checks to see if she was going to run, and just has a great spark but misfires, then doesn't want to run or doesn't fire at all, and then the plug is soaked and you think okay, and it kind of gets put to one side, and then she just hung up and then not looked at. So with a fresh set of eyes the other day, I was looking at, so I fix computers for a living, and sometimes when I get to certain computer jobs, the clients or the customers tell me the work they've already done, and you realise that actually can be a real hindrance, because you're not sure how they've tested it, how efficient they are at testing, whether or not they even understand the results they get, even if they've tested it, and you're going to have to test it yourself anyway, so you're better off not hearing it. So I thought, I need to go back to some of the saws I've looked at, and given them a cursory check over, and just start again and just see what's happening. So put her back on the bench. So she pulls over clean, really nice compression for a 38cc, great spark, prime her, barely wants to fire if at all, and then a backfire, and you think, oh okay, it's probably, as I probably assumed at the time, it's probably a coil and it's just misfiring. It might be points and condenser, but it's misfiring. And so you start to just go through. So I flushed the tanks out, matter of course. I thought, I know you've done these things, so we'll just do them again. So flush the tanks out, check the filter, clean it. They're an unusual elongated felt filter which gets into the end of the fuel pipe. So all original. And check the fuel feed to the carburetor, everything's clean, pulling over, the plug gets wet. You think, okay, so it's getting fuel. Still great spark, and it's still not firing. And you think, it must be the coil misfiring. Like, I haven't had a replacement coil for one of these up until recently. And I thought, okay, well, then I started remembering some of my Dan-arm problems with my Dan-arm 110s and 125s, and on a couple of my large Canadian Pioneer saws, that when they've been backfiring, they've often rotated on the crank. The flywheels have so much mass, they've been shearing woodruff keys. But this thing's tiny, it's a bit like the Poulan looking flywheel, like lots of the Quadra Engineering flywheels, tiny, virtually no mass to them at all to speak of. I thought it cannot have sheared the woodruff key, and this had been with somebody else that had looked at her trying to find the fault. So I thought you just got to take it apart and just double check everything again. So I pulled her off, and then it's quite incredible, isn't it? I pulled her off and there is no woodruff key on, and the flywheel has been placed obviously, and then the gentleman, bless him, when he's worked on it, perhaps it's gone in and then slipped out, although there's no, it's definitely not sheared, and there's not one in there, and there wasn't one in there. And you think, never, is that what's kept this engine in great condition? At some point on the assembly, perhaps the woodruff key is caught when he's tried to engage it on the flywheel with its groove, and that's the reason why she's never run. So I'm very fortunate. I've got both metric and imperial, about the most common 80 odd sizes of Woodruff keys to cover a load of my early saws as well. And I have the little baby Woodruff keys for these. Put the Woodruff key on. I can't believe all this time, Woodruff key on, redid the plug, and then everything else has been redone again. And oh, throttle lock. Hey guys, so just a 2-minute video just to share that even when you think you've gone through all the checks, that sometimes even the most basic thing, like if somebody else has taken apart the engine, did they put the Woodruff key back? And there you go. That's something which I should have checked early on, but as it was sparking and it had come from somebody which fixes engines, and I hadn't thought to check the Woodruff key. I assumed that the fault was somewhere else, and all that time, and there's nothing else wrong, it's just simply the Woodruff key hasn't gone back in. And the other thing I'm reminded of is these engines are ferocious. I love the little Italian 240s. Gorgeous finish on this saw. So with that in mind, I redressed the guide bar because I had a bit of time. I was back early on a job, and I found a really nice vintage Oregon. I was looking in my 3/8 low profile, and then I'd forgot that these are actually 325 pitch bars on the 240s. Beautiful little setup. So I found a genuine little Oregon 325 pitch vintage chain for her semi chisel. So she's just spectacular now. Real rock steady ignition as well. Such a gorgeous running engine. Little 13-inch bar, genuine Oregon bar, Oregon chain. So now the only thing on her now, which I guess would be a very simple fix, is she has one odd size stud at the front. So evidently somebody's pulled the thread and looks okay, and it looks well fitted, and it clamps up nicely and doesn't interfere with the bar tensioning or the oiling. It's just an oversized stud, but it'll be a simple engineering matter to put a bush in there and then put the correct smaller stud in if you wanted, but no need. And yeah, there she is. So the vintage 240 back up and running again. So hopefully maybe a beautiful saw now for one of you out there. Now you know that she's actually a beautiful running engine. Oh, throttle lock. Hey guys, so when you're fault finding, assume nothing, go through everything systematically, and before you know it, you'll find the problems. Take care, guys.